good amount of morning to you. Want to take you back in time in a minute here to show you where this project begins, but just to kind of give you a little background. During this year's flu season, before the current season we're in right now, my wife made us this big batch of elderberry syrup just to kind of help us get through the flu season. Some of the folks in my family already had contracted the flu. I was taking the elderberry syrup every single day, and I never got it, even though I was very, very much around all the people who had it. And so after I realized, how it helped my immunity, I got more interested in it, started researching it, watching other videos, reading different stuff, and seeing not only is that something that's currently trending, that everybody loves the elderberries and the elderberry syrup, but man, this thing goes like way back to some of the very earliest medicines and doctors and people who believe that, man, elderberry could basically cure everything. And all of a sudden, this year, between the crazy flu season and the other season that I'm not going to say because that means YouTube will, because of those two seasons that we've been going through, like, everybody's been buying elderberry bushes anytime they can get them. And every time I went into a nursery's webpage to try to buy some elderberry bushes, and they were completely sold out. And I found this elderberry Facebook group, and I said, hey, am I crazy, or is just like everybody's elderberry supply is wiped out? And a fellow on there is like, hey, tell me where you live. And I gave him a little bit of coordinates as to where I live. So rewind back to early April. All right, well, me and Bob are on a quick little adventure. Modern Mountain Mama sent us on a trip to go to Walmart to get a pickup order, social distancing and all. But a little while ago, I was on a Facebook group, the Elderberry Facebook group, and I was worried because I wanted to grow some elderberries this year back in the field, and all the elderberry nurseries I can find are all sold out. So I asked the guys on the elderberry group, did I wait too late? And different people were giving me different answers on that question. But this one guy from Missouri started sending me pictures of my community, and he's like, hey, there's an elderberry bush here and there's an elderberry bush there. And I'm like, I must have met the elderberry mafia here if he lives in Missouri and knows where elderberry bushes are in Southwest Virginia. So I was like, dude, how'd you find those? He showed me how the Google Maps in my community were taken, the aerial shots were taken when the elderberry bushes were in bloom, so they're pretty easy to spot. So I'll roll in a few pictures of what he sent me. But we're going to head over to the park that he told us about and see whether we can find these elderberries. What do you think, Bob?
I think that we might find a lot.
All right. You help me do some cuttings?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think, buddy?
I think that we found elderberry tree right there.
Yeah, so we went to the very first spot that was on the map. I couldn't quite locate where the elderberry tree was, and then we went to spot number 2, which was right around the corner from spot number 1, and I found 2 bushes so far. Now, Bob is wearing his athletic shorts and his t-shirt. I got Suns Out, Guns Out, but at least I got jeans on. And now I got to dive into the briar patch to get after where these elderberries are, so I'll be right back. All right, we're heading back to the house with our berry cuttings on board over here. My take on it is, even if these don't root, it's not a failure for 2 reasons. One, I know where they are for berry season. And 2, I also know where they are for next year. If I needed to cut them earlier, I can cut them earlier next year. So let's go try to root them. All right, so about a month has transpired since the first video to now. So me and Bot, we went and cut down the branches and we put them in jars of water, and they've sat there for about a month. Let's see where they're at. As you can see, they still have leaves on them. They've grown out more leaves. Some leaves have withered, other leaves have grown and replaced them. The main thing we're looking at right here is what's going on down here inside the jar. I'll pull one out so you can get a better look. See how the little bumps that grow on the trunk have turned into these little white bumps? That's where roots are gonna start coming out soon. Got some that are leafier than others. Now, after chatting with some of the people in the Facebook group that originally told me about how to find these and how to cut them, all that, I noticed that a lot of them were using much smaller cuttings than what I've got here. And I asked them, all right, what do I do? Do I just plant these ones? And gotten some good advice on just that. Probably if I go with them this long, once they start going in the soil and they begin to harden off, all this might wither. And so they just gave me the advice to cut them down and then take the part that I don't put in the soil, the top parts that I cut off, put them back in the jar and start the process over again. So that's what we're about to do. All right, so for instance, with this one here, this is the part that's been underwater. Here's the first pair of nodes. Here's the second pair of nodes. I'm gonna cut it right there. Stick the rest of this back in the water. Come right above that node, I'm gonna snip. I'm gonna cut it flat. And then the new one, I'm gonna give it a nice little angle. And we'll just repeat that a few times. Another good spot to cut. Angle. I'll stick that back in the jar. Reinitiate this process. So I have a ton of these pots from just gardening projects here around the house, as well as landscaping at the church. So I got these out of the basement, and then I went to Lowe's and bought a bunch of potting soil. Based on my group, asking what kind of potting soil should I use. I got everything from super complicated formulas down to very simple, anything works. But the one thing all of the people had in common was to make sure that it holds moisture well for it to root. So I got some Moisture Max potting soil here. And so we'll just stick this guy right in there. All right, let's get some water on them. Okay, for the time being, these 8 are gonna just hang out over here. I've got some with no leaves on. I've got a few that I've left one little branch with the leaves on, just you know, for science, see what it does. All right, so they're gonna be posted up right here by my water station. Anytime I'm grabbing water for something else, I can make sure to water these up real good. So that's where we are now. I've got those 8 over there in the pot. I took their 8 tops and put them back into the jars of water, so potentially another 8 to root pretty soon here. And so, hey man, it's exciting. Feel free to follow along, like, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Also, once again, thank you so much to the members of the Facebook group that I found. I'll drop a link in the description below to find that Facebook group if you're interested in connecting with that community and asking them questions as well. But until next time, God bless you and go take your mountain.